Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for February 27th, 2024. There is a countdown underway toward World War III. After watching this update, you won't be able to say that you weren't warned. I'm going to be presenting the developments of the last days to give you a sense of what the responsibility of citizens is to move us away from that war danger. Don't underestimate the threat to the human race coming from the misleadership of those who control the governments committed to maintaining the unipolar order, which is endangered. But don't make the mistake of underestimating the potential for a transformation away from that geopolitical imperial doctrine, which is propelling us toward the danger of World War III. The neoliberal world order is crumbling, and there are forces moving to replace it. The question is, will the Western countries continue on a course toward global suicide, or will the people emerge as a counterforce with a solution to the crisis? And that solution is based on establishing principles of mutual cooperation for economic benefit of all sovereign nations. So let me start with a review of the war danger. And we start with Ukraine. We're seeing the US and NATO pushing for more weapons for the Ukraine war, more money to keep the government going. Even as this is occurring, more officials are acknowledging that the war is lost, that Ukraine cannot win, that Russia cannot be moved back to the pre-2022 borders. Now, just a couple of examples of that. Charles Kupchan, the former European director of the National Security Council, said, "There's no way for Ukraine to win, even if new weapons are delivered. And there's a push coming for long-range weapons, especially from Germany, but also from the United Kingdom. And there's still the question of, will F-16s be made available to Ukraine? There's pushback against it, but there are important officials demanding that the new weapons be made available." Joe Buccino, who's the former spokesman of CENTCOM, the Central Command in Europe, said Ukraine cannot push Russia back to the boundaries of 2021. So two significant officials have made it clear that Ukraine cannot succeed in the objectives that are supported by Biden, by the British, and by the NATO command. On top of that, there's a poll from the European Council on Foreign Relations, which shows that only 10% of Europeans believe that Ukraine can win the war. Yet the political leaders keep pushing. Zelensky is demanding more weapons, more aid, more money, and there continue to be politicians who make the trek to Kiev to answer his demands. A Ukrainian member of parliament told the Munich Security Conference that Ukraine needs nuclear weapons. Are you willing to put nuclear weapons in the hands of the Azov Battalion, the modern-day supporters of the Hitler final solution? The leader of the Social Democratic Party foreign policy group, Schmidt, said that Putin must be defeated. Remember, the Social Democratic Party is the party of Chancellor Scholz. And the CDU leader, the Christian Democratic leader, Friedrich Merz, who's formerly a board member from BlackRock, has said that no negotiation should take place until Putin capitulates. So from both the party in power, the Social Democrats, along with their green accomplices, the lunatics from the Green Party, along with the leading opposition, the CDU, are all insisting that the war continue. Now, Biden is continuing to push to get Congress to pass the $60+ billion in Ukraine aid. There was a meeting yesterday with congressional leaders. I have no report on the outcome of that, but Biden has said through Blinken and others that this is a non-negotiable insistence that the U.S. live up to its responsibility to stop Russia. from all over Europe. There is this mythical line that Putin is the new Peter the Great, that Putin is the new Stalin, that Putin is the new Hitler, and will not stop until he conquers Europe, with absolutely no evidence that that's the case. And for those of you who saw his discussion with Tucker Carlson on this, he said there's no reason Russia would attack another European country unless Russia is attacked first. Well, that opens the possibility of a false flag operation or a targeting of Russian basic infrastructure, including nuclear security, coming from war maniacs from the West. Now, then we have the whole situation in Gaza. I won't review that now. There's plenty of coverage that we have and that you've seen in the social media. We're still waiting for a decision from the International Court of Justice. Will they find Israel committing genocide? Or more importantly, that Israel is refusing to abide by the provisional measures that were outlined last January to stop genocide and provide humanitarian aid? And if they do issue that ruling, what will Israel do? There's also a UN General Assembly discussion coming up, but indications are that Netanyahu, working hand in hand with the berserker network of the far right in Israel, typified by Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, that Netanyahu intends to go for final victory, which means ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. Now, there's potential for change, and again, this should not be underestimated. There's motion from the global south, all kinds of institutions that are rejecting the attacks on Russia and China, rejecting the attempt to sustain the geopolitical divisions of the colonial era. And this is significant. Lula, for example, the president of Brazil, will be the head of the G20 summit that's taking place this coming July. Viktor Orban from Hungary, who's an opponent to the craziness of the EU and NATO, is now heading the European Union. Putin is the chairman of the BRICS. And it appears that Donald Trump is unstoppable for winning the Republican nomination in the United States, while Biden appears increasingly unelectable. So what does that mean? That means there's a potential for change, a big potential. It's not clear what Trump will do, but the fact is that many in the United States are demanding a change in policy. And in fact, the majority say they want neither Trump nor Biden. Meanwhile, in Europe, the farm protests are building, and they're increasingly targeting the crazy policies of the Green New Deal from the European Union, as well as the sanctions, which are causing shortages of energy, high costs, and a general revolt against the unelected bureaucrats of Brussels. So all this means a moment of decision is approaching. We cannot leave the fate of humanity in the hands of the war hawks and neoliberals who owe their allegiance to the military-industrial financial complex. The people must be educated to understand the crisis as well as the solutions. This is your job, to join us to bring the truth to those who are unhappy, which is the majority of the population, and give them a sense that solutions are at hand. But it won't happen without the activation of a significant minority of the population of the Western world. Join us in doing this. The fate of humanity is at stake.